Hello and welcome back to the next One Piece review and discussion. We are here with the next installment, and Oda is not disappointing. This run up at the end of 2025 now and the end of God Valley has been incredible, and this chapter does not disappoint. I think this has my favourite double page spread of the year, and we've had some pretty big moments that have deserved that accolade, but this one in particular could just go down as the top double page spread, at least top five for what we see happen. So we need to get into this. Without further ado, chapter 1163, Promise. And we are now over to our cover story requests this time because Yamato's pilgrimage is finished, and it is Luffy doing parkour with a bunch of monkeys through like this cityscape. So it looks pretty nice, pretty fun. So last we had left off, it was the God Valley Battle Royale. Everything was in just full chaos, and we had like Rayleigh had just saved Shaki and was like fleeing now with the rest of the Roger pirates sort of defending the flanks. We had Big Mom managed to close in on Kuma and Ivankov, stealing the fruits, and she was ready to give it to Katakuri, is what her was intention. And Kaido comes in and BMs the hell out of her, grabs the fruit, eats it, smiles as he does it, and becomes the dragon that we know he does. We then have a really interesting narrative from Garp's perspective, where he's obviously protecting the Marines. He's a rear admiral. He's doing what he can, but he's slowly starting to realize that the Marines in this situation aren't necessarily the good guys here, and the pirates are, they're going for treasure, and they're doing the sort of pirating. So obviously he's protecting his men, but the more he's witnessing, the more he's like, he even like spoke to Sengoku, and he was like, look, like, do you actually know what's happening here? Like, he's realizing that the celestial dragons are far more corrupt and are far more maniacal than he really was kind of considering. And this is, I think, Garp's turning point in his character, where then he transitions to the Garp we know now, but he's seriously packing some punches. But after Garp had his moment, we kind of all came towards the end of the chapter, where we had Rox was running away from, like, I think two of the God's Knights and loads of other like marine forces, and he had Eris, and she was also holding Blackbeard or Teach, and they were running, and she kicks off of him and is like, look, if I can't even protect my son, like, you wouldn't have even fallen in love with me. So she says she can hold her own, and I think she probably can as well, being part of the Davy clan now. So she begins to flee with Teach, while Rox holds the line against a small army and wins. Like, this dude, his power is unparalleled currently. Like, he is a force of nature that is just so destructive, and he managed to, he already had dealt a big attack on Garling before he was fleeing, and he's managed to just finish him off at this point. Like, he's going to regenerate. We know the God's Knights have that ability from Eam and how they regenerate over time, but clearly the attack that Rox is dealing is certainly slowing the regeneration down. He packs a certain punch. In that moment, we had saw Kuma was helping people escape. He'd finally eaten the pawpaw fruit. Everyone was thanking him, and it culminated in Whitebeard standing next to Rock, saying, he owed him one, he was going to stand with him. Kaido appearing as a dragon, gloating to the two of them, like, look at this power I've now got. And they face off against a transforming Saturn. Already was in his demon form, but now is become overpowered and possessed by Eam. And Rox declared that this individual could only be described as the World. And it is nuts now what we get into in this chapter. So we start with this already incredible shot of Saturn, full demonic form. We still see Saturn and, you know, all the spider legs and stuff, and we see Saturn's face, but protruding from his back is the full elongated shadow of Eam. So they're kind of like, you know, conjoined in a sense, you know, whereas Eam took over Gunko in like personality, and, you know, we don't see like the split of a shadow and Gunko. They were just one being. In this instance, it looks like it's still Saturn, but Eam possessing like the shadow aspect. And whether Saturn is still controlling himself, probably not. Eam's strong enough to just be like, I'm in control now. But Eam's not holding back and starts to just fire out at Marine and Pirate regardless. You know, everyone is like, there's a moment where like there's a bunch of pirates are like, wait, is that dude on our side? And another leg decides to flick out at them. They're like, nope, it's on nobody's side. So Eam is here just to destroy now. You know, this has already gone bad enough for the Marines and the Celestial Dragons. Eam's had enough. Eam is here to step in. So we can see everyone is on full retreat. You know, Marines are off. We can see Roger was like, right, pull yourself together, men. Gabon, you run and protect everyone. You know, get whatever treasure you can, but just go. And Gabon's like, all right, just don't overdo it, Roger. You know, you need to, you know, take care of yourself. But we see Garp has picked up a Marine. It's like, what the hell is going on? And the dude is like panicking, saying, you know, that monster, that thing was Saint Saturn. Like, we don't know what's going on. It just came out of nowhere. And Garp is like, this is crazy. Like, this is the first time I'm seeing one of the elders to begin with, to be fair. But, you know, that's exactly how I pictured those bastards. So Garp is like fully like ready, and we see just stood staring down this Eam transformation. Rox plants his sword. It's like, yo, King of Rats, you know, guess you're here to kill me then. And Eam looks at Rox and calls him Davy Jones, and he's like, sorry, you might have the wrong guy, you know. I've never met him before, but, you know, I'm willing to keep that promise. So, you know, this was back when, you know, Rox intimidatingly managed to get into the flower room and just stared down Eam and was like, you know, promise I'm going to come back one day. And Eam decides to say, you know, I'm going to blot you out from the pages of history. And interestingly, as Eam throws out an attack and Rox just decimates the leg here, Eam says that the world of Mu hath yet to be complete. What is the world that Eam is trying to create? And why is it in this instance at God Valley? What's missing? Why hasn't it been completed yet? What is stopping Eam from completing their ideal world, it looks like? So there's a very interesting aspect now as to what is Eam's sort of end goal and motivation here. Like, what is this world that they are searching for, the world of Mu? And we can see, like, everyone is panicking. The Marines like, right, he's fighting Saint Saturn, Rox is nuts, like, what are we doing? Rear Admiral Garp, like, what is the plan? And Garp is like flexing his shoulders, you know, he's warming up, and he's like, right, we're going to help him out. And he's like, wait, when you say help him out, who do you mean? And Garp just smiles. We all know who Garp's going to help in this situation. But we see pirates are absolutely just treasure hoarded up. rushing away. The Marines are trying to stop them, but it is meaningless. And then everyone sees Captain John on the shores drinking away as he does, and he's like, I guess it's time then. Farewell, rocks, pirates. And in this moment, we get a cut over to Dragon running with Shanks, rushing away, sees a Navy ship, and he's like, finally, I can leave the child in their care, we can do this. And then all of a sudden, Dragon gets like pulled back off his feet by some gravitational force. He doesn't know what, something like pulls it up into the sky amongst the trees, and he's like, what is going on? All the treasure starts to scatter around, and everyone is like, what is going on? And Gabon is like, hold on guys, like the metals are reacting to something. And in the center of this moment, we see Captain John scream, big eater, all of the treasure will now be mine. And he uses the Jiki power, the magnet fruit that kid has. I think we're going to get a connection here. We see Captain John draw in all of the metals in the vicinity, and it is huge. This is 100% the awakened version of this fruit. Like, the scale he pulls from is nuts. Like, it's where like the sort of split of the mountain is, we see like the treasure tumble through the gap, and it is crazy. Like, this dude's power over this fruit is nuts. Like, the magnetic field he has created here, the southern east gorge is just erupting with treasure now and is under his control. And Roger's like fighting against it. He's like, I've just got to move, I've just got to pull through. So even he's feeling the effect of it. And then we see Ganzu, full armoured like John, you fucking bastard, gets his hand like this, like ready to just flick, and just fires a sky snake red cannon and just sends an explosion of atomic proportion directly at John, and it cuts the power off. John goes down immediately. We see Dragon fall. Shanks kind of rolls from his hand a little bit, and Shiki's like, whoa, Ganzu, what are you doing, man? Like, why are you shooting John like this? And he's like, do you really think he was going to split that treasure? And he's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And then Shiki goes to like turn around. He's like, you know, all these treasure probably worth like $1 billion each treasure chest. And he's like, whoa, $1 billion? That's kind of crazy. And then Ganzu's like, do you really think I'm going to split it? And Shiki's like, oh, fuck. So Ganzu clearly is going to turn on everyone at this point for the treasure. We see a cascade of Marines now at this point holding on to Garp, being like, Garp, he is the highest authority in the world. Please don't do this. You know, don't get involved. And he's just absolutely powerhousing his way through. These Marines are not going to stop Garp in this situation, and clearly doesn't. Everyone convenes in this one moment. We see Big Mum reappears and is like, Kaido, I'm going to kill you for what you did. We see Kaido being like, haha, bet you're jealous, but watch now what I can do. Whitebeard ready to attack. Rox is already engaging in there. Rogers appeared now being like, Garp, this guy's mine. Get out my way. Garp readies, and this is it, ladies and gentlemen. This is the double page spread, the panel of the year. It is Eam being continuously or simultaneously attacked by Big Mum, Kaido, Whitebeard, Rox, Roger, and Garp. You know, the top 6 people of this era, the strongest people, all simultaneously let off their strongest attack to Eam. So we've got Garp's Galaxy Impact, Roger's Divine Departure, We've got Rox's Pandemonium or his Cursed Abyss. We've got Whitebeard's Hakao, or it's the space breaker move he does where he just splits the earthquake through the fucking world. We've got Kaido doing his Ryu, or like the dragon breath attack. And we have Big Mom doing the Ikoku, the Ikoku sovereignty attack that we've seen so many times. 6 big attacks on Eames' spider demonic form, and it is a crazy double page spread. Like, this is nuts. And Eam kind of like goes, like, loses all like the shadow for a moment before it like just recongeals and reconvenes, and Eam just doesn't get affected. Like, it is nuts. And all of a sudden, as Eam just rebuilds itself here, the biggest wave of Conqueror's Haki radiates out and just marine pirate down. There is no question who it's hitting here, and no one in the vicinity, other than I assume these 6 individuals, are the ones who are left standing. Everyone else is either outside the radius or like have managed to escape at this point. But we get a continuation momentarily of, we see Rayleigh and Shaki have passed the boundary, and everyone's like, what the hell is going on in the centre of the island now? This is nuts. We see Dragon is breathless, wounded, and it's like, what is going on? I need to protect this kid. Wait, what the hell? Where's the kid gone? And we see Shanks heading over towards a fallen treasure chest, ready to climb in. So it wasn't actually that Dragon put Shanks in the chest himself. It looks like fate or destiny, as we've seen Shanks as being called the child of destiny, takes effect, and Shanks puts himself, which is the thing I was not expecting at all, himself into the chest. So that's nuts. So whoever's going to pick this chest up, presumably one of the Roger members at this point when they're escaping, is how Shanks is going to end up there. But we see the long stem shadow of Ian begins to like rise high into the sky now. Like the reach that Ian probably has is huge, and begins to taunt Rox, being like, I can see deep into the forest, running there, far away. And he's like, don't you dare tell me. And he's like, a Davy, woman and child, desperately struggling to survive. Such venomous lives will never walk free. We see Rox immediately, without hesitation, jumps and begins to cut this long Eam shadow into pieces. And he's like, you dare touch my wife and child, you will do nothing. And Mu is like, immediately like, I'm not going to do a thing. And these like black small tendrils now pierce into Rox. And he's like, you are going to be the one responsible for annihilating your own clan. You are going to kill thy wife and son. And Rox is like, what? What the hell are you talking about? And the chapter concludes with a Domi Reversi on Rox. We see the transformation begin. We see the fangs. We see the sort of venomous eyes. Eam has just turned Rox into a overpowered demonic version of himself. We see a final moment of panic of Eris and Tichino trying to escape, and everyone else is watching this happen in the sky. We're about to get a demonically overpowered, souped up version of Rox. and the other 5 people now having to fight him so that he doesn't kill his own wife and child. This next chapter is gonna be nuts. There is no break next week, so next chapter, I cannot wait to see how Rox is gonna look now. You know, all this time we believe Rox was this, you know, villainous dude, and really he was just here to protect his wife and child. And now all of a sudden, he is the reason everyone has to fight and stop him. This is gonna be nuts. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Let me know what you thought of this chapter, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.